Hey everyone, I wanted to talk about a topic that I get a ton of questions around, and that is the temporary rate buydowns. Now, on paper, they sound amazing, right? And they actually can be in the right scenario. But I want to talk about how misleading they can be and tell you exactly how that money is moving around. So if you're not familiar with a temporary buy down, there is different kinds, which a like 1-0, a 1-0 temporary buy down would buy down your interest rate 1 whole percent for 1 year. So just 12 months with a 1% lower interest rate than what the current market is going at. You're buying that rate down temporarily. There's other ones out there too, like a 2-1 buy down. The 2-1 buy down is buying down your interest rate 2% for the first year and then buying down your interest rate 1% for that following year, the second year, and then it would go up to the normal going market interest rate in perpetuity for the remainder of the term that you selected, which is typically a 30-year term. So again, that's a temporary buy down. Right now, they are a great idea in the sense that most people are watching the news and seeing that interest rates are expected to come down. It's not if, it's just when. And that timeline keeps shifting for when they're going to come down because of inflation. Inflation is turning out to be tougher to tame than everyone thought. And so, as the reports on inflation come back more positively, that things are heading in the right direction, then we're going to see interest rates follow suit because they always follow inflation. So it's coming. It's just a matter of when. So that's why people love these temporary buy downs. They get to buy down that interest rate for that period until they refinance and reap the benefit of lower rate going forward. Makes sense, right? But who's paying for that? How are you paying for this temporary rate buy down that everyone in the media has told you is the best idea for you? That's a good question. So you can't pay for it out of your own pocket because that wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. Because how a temporary rate buy down works, for example, the 1-0 buy down, a 1% drop in your interest rate for 12 months, all that is a simple calculation to see what the difference is for 12 months with 1% less interest rate. Then they're taking that exact amount of money. That money is being placed into an escrow account of sorts. And then that money sits there and it comes down each month and subsidizes your payment by that 1%, lowering your payment. So if you took that money and you put it in the escrow account and then subsidizing yourself, you're not saving anything. You're essentially just moving money around and then it's all the same thing. So there's really no benefit to even asking or talking about trying to temporarily buy down your rate yourself. What you can do though is ask your lender, like me, if there's a way that I can structure it and pay for it or help pay for it, um, or the seller. Most commonly, you'll see people ask the seller for the funds that will pay directly for that buy down. So I hope that that makes sense. The seller is typically who gets hit up, or the lender, um, to to provide the funds to temporarily buy down that rate. Now, if you want to get really deep, if you're asking the seller to contribute money towards the buy down temporarily of your interest rate, then that also means they would have just knocked that much off of the price of the house instead of giving you those funds for that. So you technically could have got the house for less money. So you're technically going to pay for it anyway. But that's why it's important to sit down with a mortgage lender who's going to walk you through the pros and cons of everything so that then you can make an educated and informed decision based on what your goals are, short and long term, because it's not one size fits all. There's a lot to it, and mortgages used correctly, can be a very, very great financial tool for you. So, um, I hope that this is making sense. And I hope that you see now that there are benefits to a temporary buy down in the case that you ask the seller or the lender to provide the funds to buy down that interest rate so that it's lower for the term that you need, so that when your time comes to refinance, that you can then take advantage of that. And here is the big thing. Here is the thing that most people don't know about. Now, the big advantage to the temporary rate buy down is you're asking the seller or the lender to provide that money, right? That goes up into an escrow account and it's sitting up there and it's subsidizing it monthly. But it comes time to refinance. We're at like month 9. There's still money in that account, but I want to refinance. What happens to that money in that account that's hanging out up there? That's the great part of the temporary buy down, is that money, when you refinance, if there's any left over, can be utilized during your refinance to pay down your principal. Therefore, it's not true that if you don't use it, you lose it. Not in the case of the temporary buy down. You do lose all monies that you use towards buying down your rate permanently. So if you're going to buy down your rate in perpetuity for the whole 30-year term, that it doesn't matter when you refinance or how much you paid for it. Poof, it's gone. So that is an advantage to the temporary rate buy down. If you need a more attractive payment, and you think that things might change and you might refinance before you use all that money up, then you don't have to worry about losing that money, and you can take advantage of having that lower payment. So it really, everyone wants to talk about temporary rate buy downs, and they think that they're this have your cake and eat it too solution, and they're not that, but they could be right for you, and I'm willing to help explain to you the pros and cons of whatever you're thinking you're doing so that then you can decide, is this the right course of action for me and my family? I know that's a long winded one. If you hung with me all the way to the end, kudos. But if you have any questions, definitely reach out. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.